friends! Today I want to share a simply stamped and very simply colored one-layer card using Pinkfresh Studios Keep Going stamp set, which I just think is so beautiful and I adore it. Now I'm starting with a piece of Bristol cardstock, which is my favorite for ink blending and watercoloring, and while I'm not going to use either of those techniques today, I think that smooth surface really makes coloring a large section easier. On top of my cardstock, I have a circle template that I'm going to use to help space my stamped images. This is a circle stencil from Brutus Monroe, but I know lots of companies make cool ones. And you could even make your own with just a circle die and a piece of acetate or a scrap of plastic packaging or even just cardstock. Now I'm positioning my stamp so some of the image will be inside the circle and some will be outside. I'm stamping in my favorite waterproof black ink, but any waterproof ink would work well. You just don't want it to smudge later. After stamping that first floral image, I'm going to turn my panel in my MISTI so I can stamp off another edge. I'm going to put that circle stencil back in there for positioning. And again, I'm going to take it out before I actually stamp because I want the whole floral image to stamp onto my Bristol panel. Now I'm just going to keep moving my panel and stamping more floral images until I'm happy. No real set design on that part, just until I decided it was enough. And then I'm going to heat set the ink with a heat gun, because I don't want to smudge the stamped images when I move on to the coloring. And full disclosure, I had to realize the need for heat setting the hard way. This is actually my second attempt to make this card. I'm using a little low-tack purple tape to secure my stamped panel to my work surface, and then a little more tape to secure that circle stencil on top. Then I'm going to use a black pen to draw that circle onto my stamped panel, and I'm using a Copic multi-liner for this. I'm making sure not to draw the circle over any of the stamped flowers. I only want to draw the circle in the open areas, if that makes sense. And then when I remove the stencil, you can't really see that it's a circle yet, but it will be apparent once I start coloring. Now for this part, any black marker would work well, like a Copic or a Zig, but I'm going to use the brush end of my Memento Tuxedo black marker because it doesn't get used very often, so it's nice and juicy and easy to color with. And I'm going to start coloring the circle so it's a solid black. That brush tip makes it easy to go around any of the stamped flowers so I can leave them white. And I really want the circle to be really good and solid, so I'm going to go over the whole thing a second time even after I've colored it once. Now once it's colored, it really needs to dry before I add an embossed sentiment because the embossing powder will stick to all of that. So I'm going to leave it for a bit and then I'm going to set it with my heat gun. Once it's dry, I'm going to powder it excessively to reduce static. And then I'm going to stamp the sentiment in clear embossing ink, add white embossing powder, and melt it with my heat gun. Now you will see, after I do that, my sentiment ends up being a little smushy and hard to read because I might have stamped it a little aggressively. Sometimes I think I push a little too hard on the MISTI when I have tiny stamps in there. But I'm still happy with how it turned out, and I love this simple design and this simple bit of coloring, so I might try it again or even a few more times. Now thank you so much for watching. You can find more information in the video description, including a link to my blog where I have more photos and a few other ideas with this stamp set. And definitely tell me what you're up to today. Leave me a comment because I love hearing from you. And I would love if you subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Thanks again for watching. Stay safe and well and happy crafting.